Gotham is wondering what to make of Batman. Friend or foe?
Michael Keaton is reportedly returning to the role of Batman and Bruce Wayne in the upcoming Flash movie starring Ezra Miller. While I'm intrigued by this news, and I swear I'm going to end on a positive note here, I also need to vent a bit of repressed rage that's been building up over the last 4 years. Now, a few hours before this news broke, we also received word that director Joel Schumacher had died after a year-long battle with cancer. Schumacher directed Batman Forever, which was one of the 3 watchable live-action Batman movies I grew up with, the others being Batman 89 and Batman 66. Mr. Schumacher's filmography includes Falling Down, Flatliners, The Lost Boys, Phone Booth, 2004's Phantom of the Opera, and finally 2 episodes of Netflix's House of Cards remake, just to name a few. Vulture magazine did a lengthy interview with Mr. Schumacher last year covering his life behind the camera. It was hands down the best article I read in 2019 and is a must-read. I'll link it below in this video's description. I'm not a big director commentary guy, but Schumacher's commentary for Batman Forever is a joy to listen to, and proves that he had a better grasp on the character than people give him credit for. It's unfortunate that the studio pressured for a more light-hearted tone in his movies. Like virtually all Batman fans in the past, I've said terrible things about Mr. Schumacher due to him directing Batman and Robin. Similar to how people said not-so-pleasant things about George Lucas during and after the Star Wars prequels. This became harder as time went by after Mr. Schumacher apologized for how the film turned out. Subsequently, in every interview he appeared in, Mr. Schumacher seemed to be one of the nicest people ever to walk this earth. So I'd like to take a moment to belatedly apologize for any negative comment I ever said about the man. He deserved better. Back to Keaton's return. And I might as well say light spoilers for pretty much every Batman movie. If you haven't seen Batman 89, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, The Dark Knight, and Batman v Superman, get a move on. So, after sleeping on it, I can go along with Keaton donning the cape and cowl again. But first I have to speak my piece. If I sound a bit reserved about the news, it's because I strongly feel that as far as his big screen adventures go, the Batman character should always be moving forward, not retreating into previously covered territory. I'm in a bit of a quandary when it comes to Keaton's Batman. On one hand, Batman 89 is the movie I've watched the most in my life. I've lost count of the number of times I've seen it. It's one of the few VHSs I've worn out, along with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The Gotham City designed by the late Anton Furst is unforgettable, and he created the best Batmobile. Danny Elfman's Batman March, conducted by Shirley Walker, is my preferred Batman theme, and Jack Nicholson's Joker remains my favorite. That said, for me the one part about Batman 89 and Batman Returns that does not age well is, well, Batman. About a year ago, I wrote a guest column for Batman on Film where I argued Val Kilmer was a better Batman than Keaton. I still stand by that argument. If anything, I embrace it even more today than I did then. I'll leave a link to that one too. Here's the short version. Keaton was a bit of a shut-in with no day job. Kilmer was an active CEO of Wayne Enterprises and attended charity events. Keaton is the most unapologetic, murdery Batman we've ever had. I won't list all the kills, just watch the 2 videos by Mr. Sunday Movies on the subject. While Kilmer had better choreographed fight scenes and used non-lethal gadgets, like a heavy-duty taser. And he made it a point to ensure that Dick Grayson didn't repeat Batman's history of homicidal violence. And though Keaton has the best Batmobile, Kilmer's suit always seemed like an upgrade of the 89 suit, complete with a more functional utility belt and an awesome fireproof cape. I'd also rank Kilmer's Batcave as the best. It's got a simple layout, a better private dressing room and armory, and I always suspected that the car elevator was hiding extra Batmobiles beneath it. And while there's so much more of Kilmer's performance that was cut out, I do appreciate the Red Book subplot for describing Batman's mission statement better than the Burton films did. Say what you will about Batman Forever, but when I watch it, I feel like I'm watching a Batman movie. while Keaton seemed to always be sharing his movies with the villains. I'll just say it. Kilmer is the closest we've come to the traditional Bruce Wayne that we've always wanted in live action. Now, I would never use the word overrated to describe Keaton's Batman. I'm going to pause for a moment so y'all can yell at me real quick. Okay, we good? Cool. I would never use the word overrated to describe Keaton's Batman. That would be too cruel. Batman '89 changed the tone of the character and helped separate it from the camp of the 60s TV show. That needs to be commended and celebrated. I endorsed Tim Burton's reason for casting Keaton, saying he didn't know how to put a serious actor in the Batsuit without getting inadvertent laughs from the audience. But Keaton would look like a guy who had to dress up as a bat to get the job done. There are arguments in favor of Keaton's performance that I respect. I love when people say Keaton acts like a silent movie star and can express himself just by using his eyes. I fully agree. There's a scene in Returns where he goes from expressing hope that the Penguin will get to find his parents, then notices Penguin and the Christopher Walken character whispering to each other, and suddenly he shifts to thinking something is up. It's a masterful moment. Nevertheless, I find Keaton's lack of screen time in Batman Returns frustrating, and his mission statement in '89 is reduced to the line, "I tried to avoid all this, but I can't. This is how it is. It's not a perfect world." It's basically a throwaway line, and Keaton's successors were given better dialogue to play with. Keaton's a great actor, and I wish the writers had given him more to say. Despite having grown up with his Batman films, I found Keaton's Batman easy to let go of. In fact, I'm always frustrated when the most common argument for Keaton's Batman is just, well, he's the Batman I grew up with. That's not an argument, that's a statement that by accident of birth he was Batman when you were a child. And like a child, I must say to you, hey, the world does not revolve around you. The beauty of being a Batman fan today is that we're not held back by one continuity and have multiple interpretations to choose from. Keaton's casting made sense at the time, but now comic book movies have been normalized, and actors like Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, and Robert Pattinson can rock the Batsuit just fine. I wanted to steer clear of the always sensitive topic of Batman killing. Look, I tried to avoid all this, but I can't. Undoubtedly, I'll cover this in greater detail in a future video. But it is hard to ignore in this case because it's the latest reason why I have a beef with Keaton's Batman. Or, more specifically, fans of Keaton's Batman who trash Ben Affleck's Batman. One reason Batfleck killing in Batman v Superman didn't bother me too much was because having grown up with Keaton's kills, plus seeing Bale's Batman, justifiably, kill Harvey Dent at the end of The Dark Knight, I was desensitized to the idea. And I was honestly shocked that so many people lost their minds after seeing BVS. I mean, come on, if you want to be a purist, the only Batman who has not directly or indirectly killed anyone is George Clooney. I also give Batfleck some slack because he had been Batmaning for 20 years, had lost allies and friends, and Alfred clearly thinks he's gone too far. By the end of the movie, he knows he's done wrong, saying, "We fight, we kill, we betray one another, but we can rebuild. We can do better." In Keaton's two movies, there's no such moment. No line of dialogue where he regrets crossing that line. It's just another day for him. If he, or truth be told the writers behind his films, had included a line where he expressed regret, I'd go a lot easier on him. The obvious hypocrisy from people who condemn Batfleck without hesitation, yet praise Keaton for doing the same thing is, staggering. The latest example was a What Culture video ranking all the Batmobiles. The host ranked the Batfleck car relatively low on the list, saying he liked the design, but took off points because it was used to kill and has a gun, saying, "It's just not Batman, ergo, it's not a Batmobile." But of Keaton's Batmobile, which rightfully ranked higher, it was said, "It was dark, it was sinister, it was sleek, it was smooth, it had all these cool gadgets, it could blow stuff up, it was everything." What's that line from In the Mouth of Madness? Reality isn't what it used to be. Yeah, Keaton's car blew stuff up. But the stuff was people. The stuff was people. Now, the tone of the video was one made in jest. It was all in good fun. It's actually a very well-researched ranking and includes Batmobiles from all media. But on the surface, the host was blatantly saying that when Batfleck killed, it was bad, and not Batman. but when Keaton killed, it was cool. I believe the word I'm looking for is ah! This line of thinking, which I can only call BVS derangement syndrome, really gets under my skin, and as a result it's just about become my default reaction to take shots at Keaton's Batman just to knock his status down a few notches. If Batman killing really, really bothers you, and is the reason you've ruled out a certain interpretation of the character, please don't wax nostalgic for a previous performance that was equal to, or a little worse, in the homicidal maniac department. All I'm asking for is a little consistency in condemning the violence of our beloved fictional characters. So, what am I getting at? To sum up, while the Keaton years were a breakthrough in Batman movie history, they weren't as great as people remember them. Keaton's Batman killed. It often felt like he was sharing his movies with the villains, and his final movie was divisive and turned off a lot of moviegoers. And that makes him a perfect fit for the DC films going forward. There's no indication whatsoever that the Robert Pattinson movie will connect to any other DC film. And while Wonder Woman and Aquaman did good business at the box office, the DC film slate taking place in the Man of Steel continuity needs a Batman. My gut tells me Ben Affleck is not returning for a multitude of reasons, and we should respect that. Leave the man alone. He's had a great career, with still more to come. So far, we have the original story from The Wrap that Keaton is in talks to be in the Flash movie. A report from Batman on Film confirmed this and added that Keaton will essentially become the revamped DCEU version of the character, with the possibility that he will take on a protege like Batgirl or Nightwing, or both. Full disclosure, I review Nightwing comics for Batman on Film, so as soon as I saw that story, I was over the moon. In the final analysis, I actually find Dick Grayson to be a more interesting character than Bruce Wayne, and he's long overdue for a return to the big screen. I'm going to stop for a moment so some of y'all can yell at me again if you want to. Okay, cool. And while Alicia Silverstone was Batgirl, her origin was altered so that she was Barbara Wilson, Alfred's niece. We haven't seen a live-action Barbara Gordon since Yvonne Craig. Let's make that happen. In a way, Keaton's return means that the type of Batman we wanted more of, the veteran crime fighter who had been on the job for decades, can continue, despite Ben Affleck's departure. For the first time since Affleck left the role, and ever since Pattinson's film was confirmed to take place in the Dark Knight's early years, I have hope that finally we'll see more of the Bat family. It would be a waste to have Ben Affleck's Batman reduced to a cameo, but Keaton, whose Batman has already been more of a supporting role, fits that mold just fine. As I said before, I'm no fan of retreating to familiar territory and was hesitant to endorse a former Batman returning to the part after so much time had passed. But at the end of the day, we're talking about a man who is a damn good actor. Birdman, The Founder, Spider-Man Homecoming, and even American Assassin are just a few recent examples of Keaton turning in a standout performance. He can be sinister, witty, downbeat, and, in true Keaton fashion, a little nuts. Had Keaton never been in a Batman movie and was announced as succeeding Affleck in this DC universe, I'd be thrilled that an actor of his caliber was cast. Both Keaton and Affleck's Batman were brutal and a little too lethal. I just hope they give Keaton more to say this time. And maybe, just maybe, they'll rectify the murderous tendencies of his Batman, just as Kilmer and Affleck's Batman had. If so, I'm happy to forgive and forget my misgivings. And finally, it'd be nice to see the yellow oval return to the Batsuit, and I can't wait to see the '89 suit modernized. Hashtag Team Yellow Oval. So, Mr. Keaton, welcome back. In the pale moonlight, you're the devil we know, and I look forward to our final dance together. Cheers.